It's been a really interesting period for oil markets recently, contributing to the volatility which we have seen in crude oil. Now, there's been a few factors which have really driven this. A couple of temporary factors have led to the gains that we've actually seen over the last few days in the oil markets, bringing them back to what would be considered to be more sustainable levels around the $40 mark. The temporary factors we're talking about here are outage related. Now in Norway, there's a strike across 6 different oil fields. This is affecting up to 330,000 barrels equivalent per day, at 8% of total Norwegian output. So a considerable number here when you consider that what has partly driven the declines has been Libyan oil coming back online, which a number not too dissimilar to that. So this has been a significant upside for oil prices in the short term. At this point, we still don't know how long those strikes are going to last. So we will continue to see more information flow through. It could be a short-term issue, more likely to be a short-term issue. But in these situations, you do just have to monitor the situation day by day. So that's provided a little bit of an upside as far as oil is concerned. The other upside has come from the hurricane season in the US. We've got 8 weeks left. We've already seen a tremendous amount of hurricanes over the course of the past weeks already, the latest of which we're now into the Greek alphabet as far as the names are concerned. Hurricane Delta now approaching the Gulf, gathering speed as well. I think the last check was it was a Category 4 hurricane. So we're already seeing outages starting. We're also already seeing offshore oil rigs in the Gulf going offline in anticipation of this arriving. Now, the Gulf accounts for around 17% of total US output. So naturally, you do tend to see a more defensive play here when during the hurricane season, and when these powerful hurricanes do arrive. We don't know how severe it's actually going to be once it does arrive, of course, and we don't know how bad the impact is going to be in terms of more prolonged damage. But that is why you do see this kind of defensive play, why you do see this rise in oil prices during these periods. Offsetting that is the general economic situation. The reason why people have been more bearish as far as oil is concerned is because of the darkening economic outlook. Now, we've seen rising COVID cases, particularly across Europe, but that is expected to worsen really globally as we do head into the winter months, and that includes the US also. So that's going to have a dampening effect as far as the demand outlook is concerned. The opposing factor here, of course, being OPEC Plus. They can continue to cut output at any point. They've recently reduced these output cuts, and they've decided to remain steady on that going into the December meeting, but they have claimed that they could call an exceptional meeting as and when they see fit in order to offset any demand declines. And you almost, a couple of weeks ago, saw the Saudi Energy Minister, Abdulaziz bin Salman, effectively warning the markets and suggesting that they should, if they choose to short their market, they're doing it at their own peril, trying to put effective put in these markets, a floor under prices, if you will. But the last 24 hours has been really interesting as well. We've had Trump effectively call off stimulus talks with the Democrats. This was one of the potential upside risks as far as the markets was concerned. This idea that with only a few weeks to go until the election, a deal may be struck, somehow finding a way to gulf the divide between the $1.5 trillion package that the Republicans want and the $2.2 trillion that the Democrats want. Trump has seemingly put an end to these talks and wants something smaller as an alternative, which is something that the Democrats are unlikely to get on board with. So that's taken some of the heat off the upside, the short-term upside as far as these oil prices are concerned. We now remain stuck in this range between $36 and $41 in WTI. You imagine that will consolidate a little bit further now over the course of the next few weeks. But just be careful because, like I said, there could be some upsides in the near term because of the hurricane and because of the Norwegian situation, but it may not last particularly long because the longer term dynamics for crude prices, particularly against the backdrop of failed stimulus talks, continues to be to the downside.